Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour. India's President Droupadi Murmu addresses the nation on the eve of the 78th Independence Day, lists out India's achievements in the last 77 years. The President also recalls sacrifices of freedom fighters. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lead the nation in celebrating the 78th Independence Day. Theme of this year's Independence Day is Viksit Bharat at 2047. That means developed. A Thai court dismisses sitting Prime Minister Shreta Thavisin in an ethics case. Lawmakers are to meet on Friday to choose a new Prime Minister. And Russia declares emergency in Belgorod amid increased Ukrainian attacks. Ukraine says it plans to organize evacuation corridors for civilians in the Kursk region. India issues an advisory for its nationals in 3 Russian regions. India's President Droupadi Murmu has addressed the nation on the eve of its 78th Independence Day. She praised India for sailing through economic challenges and highlighted the nation's efforts to become a top investment destination while focusing on social justice, which remains among the top priorities of the Modi government. More in this report.
As India prepares to celebrate 78th Independence Day, President Droupadi Murmu on Wednesday addressed the nation on the eve of independence. The President touched upon several important areas in which the nation has made massive leaps, from India's role as the voice of the Global South to its influential position to expand the scope of world peace and prosperity. The nation has undergone transformational changes.
From 2021 to 2024, India has been among the fastest growing major economies, with an average growth rate of 8% annually. This has not only put more money in the hands of people, it has also drastically reduced the number of people living below the poverty line. As for those who continue to suffer from poverty, all efforts are being made not only to provide a helping hand to them, but also to bring them out of it.
Speaking on the steps taken by government for gender equality, President highlighted the progress made by women in every sector. She also mentioned on the variety of special government schemes that have been modified, including the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. She also spoke about various initiatives to facilitate skilling and employment.
The Amrit Kal, the ongoing period of a quarter century leading to the centenary of our independence, is going to be shaped by the youth of today. It is their energy and enthusiasm that will help the nation scale new heights. Cultivating the young minds and creating a new mindset that takes the best of the traditions and the contemporary knowledge is our priority.
President Murmu also mentioned about the growing challenges of climate change and highlighted that India is proud to be at the forefront of humankind's battle to save the planet from the worst effects of global warming. She also lauded India's mission in space exploration and achievements in the world of sports.
Climate change has become a reality. It is all the more challenging for developing nations to change their economic paradigm. Yet we have already made more progress in that direction than expected. India is proud to be at the forefront of humankind's battle to save the planet from the worst effects of global warming.
President also highlighted the role of farmers along with others who are making immense contribution in making India self-reliant. She also spoke about India's successful conduct of elections that has further strengthened democratic forces around the world. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's talk about this further. The President's speech on the eve of the nation's 78th Independence Day. We have our expert guest with us. Senior journalist Ashok Tandon is now joining us. Good evening to you. Tandonji, what do you make of the President's address? How was it in keeping with the theme also for India's 78th Independence Day, which is Viksit Bharat at 2047?
No, if you remember in the very beginning, the president talked about, Har Ghar Tiranga. Now, this campaign which the Prime Minister started a couple of years ago, now it has become a mass movement. And it is, being celebrated with a huge participation. That gives some kind of a new impetus to the celebration of Independence Day, because it is no longer, it's not merely a ritual where the Prime Minister will unfurl a flag at the ramparts of the Red Fort. No, every citizen is participating it with this campaign of Har Ghar Tiranga. Now, that was one thing which was very significant. Another significant feature which I noticed was that over the decades, some of the very prominent freedom fighters were not being mentioned anywhere. Now we see the mention in the President address of, Sardar Patel, Bhagat Singh, in fact, also about Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And leave aside that, the tribal leaders who waged war for independence never figured anywhere. Now, Birsa Munda, his 150th anniversary is coming. Like that, many other tribal leaders have also figured very prominently in the presidential address. That is something very remarkable, that now we are also remembering and celebrating the sacrifices of the tribal freedom fighters. Now, that was something which was very significant. Apart from that, the president also listed all the achievements of this government in various fields. But I think emphasis was on social justice. And she quoted B.R. Ambedkar said that democracy without social justice is not complete. And then she listed the schemes, the campaigns which the government has launched for upliftment of emancipation of women, backward section, deprived sections of the society. And then another very landmark paragraph in her speech was India becoming the 5th largest economy in the world, and now moving toward becoming the 3rd largest economy in the world. So like that, the Constitution, the significance of the Constitution was also highlighted in the context that the government is strictly following the constitutional provision. There is no undermining of the Constitution in any respect. So, and then if we look at it, there is a mention of achievements in the sports, space, Gaganyaan being launched next year, and our space program, and a host number of achievements, agriculture sector, Annadata scheme. So,
yes, and her speech also found mention of more recent initiatives taken by the government, be they part of the union budget or even otherwise. For example, she mentioned the internship scheme. She mentioned how there's a lot of money that's been outlaid for skilling of the youth as well. She even mentioned the fact that, which is quite recent, the improvement of birth rate and how it reflects that the condition of women in general is improving in the country.
See, the recent schemes which have been launched for the welfare of the youth, 4.1 crore youth is going to get benefited from that. The internship scheme also was mentioned very significantly. And one important aspect was the recently held general elections. India is the largest democracy. It was the biggest exercise of democratic process in the world, and she thanked the Election Commission and the paramilitary forces and all security forces who worked to make this as a great success. So I think some of the highlights which we may like to mention is about India's vibrant democracy, India's tradition, India's culture, India's heritage, and that makes Indian democracy a huge success and strong.
Yes, you mentioned social justice. The President also talked about climate justice.
Yes, and then see two very significant things she mentioned in respect of empowerment. One was about the women empowerment, and then the climate, she emphasized, she listed all the schemes which the government has launched for the welfare of women, and also emphasized on the climate also. And these things, particularly, he appealed to the people also to make their contribution in respect of the climate related issues.
Yes. And in terms of how India sees its track going forward, the kind of forward-looking things that are expected to be unfolding in the coming years, were there inklings of that as well in her speech?
Yes, of course she did. But the mention of the new criminal justice, law which has been enabled, that was also very prominently figured. Our achievements in the sports field, she also mentioned when India winning the T20 World Cup in cricket, and the efforts of the Indian contingent in the Paris Olympic. So youth also, as we said earlier, figured very prominently, and the welfare scheme which the government has launched in the social area, economic emancipation, and 80 crore people getting free ration. All these schemes are basically the initiatives of Modi government, which of course the president has mentioned in her eve of the Independence Day address to the nation.
Certainly. She also had a word of praise for the policy that has been implemented since 2020, and now she said that it's showing results. Now, what kind of results was she referring to?
Yes, while referring to the new education policy, the president said that it is their energy and enthusiasm that will help the nation scale new heights, cultivating the young minds and creating a new mindset that takes the best of the tradition and the contemporary knowledge is our priority. And to this end, national education policy launched in 2020 has already started showing results. So that was the paragraph, I think, which made a mention of the success of the new education policy.
And if we were to look forward to tomorrow, which is the Independence Day, and we will have Prime Minister Modi again at the ramparts of the Red Fort. Every year we hear him announce something new, whether it's an initiative or an achievement or some kind of proposal also. So what can one really expect this time around, Ashok Tandonji?
I think during his election campaign, the Prime Minister hinted that his third inning would be full of new initiatives, and let's wait for that. But I think most of the initiatives or scheme which Prime Minister may launch from the rampart of the Red Fort would be for the welfare scheme of all sections of the society, especially the agriculture sector, the farmers, the tribal belt, all deprived sections of the society, and and the vision of 2047, when we are talking about the Viksit Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat, how we can achieve that target in the run-up to 2047. A new roadmap may be outlined by the Prime Minister at his address to the nation from the ramparts of the Red Fort tomorrow morning.
Right. Well, we all look forward to that event that happens in the morning around 8 o'clock Indian Standard Time. Thank you so much for joining us for the moment, Ashok Tandon. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, like I mentioned, will be leading the nation in celebrating the 78th Independence Day from the historic Red Fort in the national capital of Delhi on the 15th of August 2024, which is tomorrow. The Prime Minister will unfurl the national flag and deliver the customary address to the nation from the ramparts of the iconic monument. The theme of this year's Independence Day is Viksit Bharat at 2047. Celebrations will be serving as a platform to provide a renewed push to the government's efforts towards transforming the country into a developed nation by 2047. With the aim to increase Jan Bhagidari in this festival of national fervour, around 6,000 special guests have been invited to witness the celebrations at the Red Fort this year. And the President of India, Droupadi Murmu, has approved 103 gallantry awards to armed forces and Central Armed Police Forces personnel on the eve of Independence Day 2024. The awards include 4 Kirti Chakras, including 3 posthumous, 18 Shaurya Chakras, including 4 posthumous, 1 Bharata Sena Medal, 63 Sena medals including 2 posthumous, 11 Nausena medals and 6 Vayu Sena medals. The President has also approved 39 mention in dispatches including Army Dog Kent, posthumous for significant contributions in different military operations. And the President has also approved 1 President's Tatrakshak Medal, that's Distinguished Service, 1 Tatrakshak Medal Gallantry and 2 Tatrakshak Medals Meritorious Service to the Indian Coast Guard personnel on the eve of Independence Day 2024. These honours recognize the exceptional bravery, devotion to duty and meritorious service demonstrated by the recipients. And still to come on the India News Hour. Japan's Prime Minister Kishida Fumio to step down in September. And the US military conducts live fire drills in South Korea to test its readiness against an attack from the north.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, the political crisis in Thailand has deepened after a court on Wednesday dismissed Srettha Thavisin as Prime Minister, ruling that he had grossly violated the minister who had previously been jailed. This decision has heightened the prospect of political upheaval and a potential shake-up within the governing alliance. All eyes are now on Friday's parliamentary meeting, which will convene to select a new Prime Minister. DD India's Mihir Maikuri has more.
Thailand faced a significant challenge on Wednesday as political instability emerged after country's constitutional court removed Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin from office due to an ethical violation. The ruling was based on Srettha's appointment of a cabinet member who had been imprisoned in connection with an alleged attempt to bribe a court official.
The court has found by a ratio of 5-4 decision that the role of the first accused as Prime Minister has ended according to Constitution Article 170, paragraphs 1-4, due to a lack of honesty and lack of qualifications as per Constitution Article 160, paragraphs 1-4. The individual has also exhibited behavior that grossly breached ethical standards, which is prohibited according to Constitution Article 160.
Post-verdict, former Thai PM Srettha accepted court decision on his removal.
I respect the decision of Constitutional Court, but I want to affirm that throughout my 1 year or almost a year tenure as Prime Minister, I have tried to do everything correctly. I am genuinely committed to my work, uphold my work with honesty and integrity, listen to the opinions of all parties, and affirm that I have not been a point of contention for everyone.
After Thavisin's dismissal, Thailand's lower house of parliament is scheduled to convene on Friday to select a new Prime Minister. In preparation for this, the ruling Pheu Thai party will gather on Thursday to determine its candidate for the position. The two contenders eligible for parliamentary voting are party leader Shinawatra and long-time party supporter Niti Siri. With the latest political development, real estate tycoon Srettha became the fourth Thai premier in 16 years to be ousted by verdicts from the same court. On August 22 of the previous year, Thavisin became the Prime Minister through a contentious coalition with pro-military parties. Now, less than a year later, Srettha's departure from power highlights the ongoing fragility of the country's political landscape. Mihir Maikuri reporting for DD India.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that his troops have been continuing to advance in Russia's Kursk region and they had moved forward 1 to 2 kilometers in various directions. Zelensky said that Ukraine had captured more than 100 Russian servicemen during the cross-border incursion on Wednesday.
Our defense forces troops continue their offensive on the territory of the Kursk region. Since the start of the day, troops have advanced 1 to 2 kilometers in various directions. The search and destruction of the enemy in the settlement of Sudza has been completed. Since the beginning of the day, we have taken captive about 100 enemy soldiers.
The Ukrainian president also convened a meeting to discuss the security and humanitarian situation in Russia's Kursk region. Following the meeting, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk announced that Ukraine is establishing a security zone in the Kursk region. She also outlined plans to organize humanitarian assistance and evacuation corridors for civilians seeking to move either to Russia or to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia has claimed to have destroyed 117 drones and 4 tactical missiles launched by Ukraine overnight, mostly over the Kursk, Voronezh and Belgorod regions. Russia has declared a regional emergency in Belgorod amid increased Ukrainian attacks. And India's embassy in Russia has also issued an advisory for Indian nationals in Bryansk, Belgorod and Kursk regions. According to the advisory, all Indian nationals are advised to take necessary precautions and consider temporarily relocating outside these areas. Let me now take you across to DD India's Megumi Lim, who joined us from Kyiv for more on this developing story. Good evening to you, Megumi. Is this conflict, like the one in the Middle East, in an escalatory phase now?
Well, certainly things are heating up in Russia's Kursk region, where Ukraine's cross-border assault is continuing. Things are indeed escalating. We're hearing the latest is that Ukrainian troops are continuing to advance, as you mentioned earlier, 1 to 2 kilometers in various areas, various directions in the Kursk region. And as you also mentioned earlier, President Zelensky said that Ukrainian troops are also capturing Russian soldiers. So far, they've claimed to have captured more than 100 Russian soldiers in what President Zelensky has called an exchange fund. Ukraine is hoping to take these Russian soldiers and exchange them for Ukrainian prisoners of war in future swaps with Russia. Now, this is what's happening on the ground in the Kursk region, but this is not the only attacks that Ukraine has been carried out overnight. Russia said that Ukrainian forces carried out drone attacks against Russia. They said that they shot down 117 drones and 4 missiles over several regions inside Russia. And Ukraine said that they struck 4 Russian air bases. Now, this marks the biggest biggest drone attack that Ukraine has carried out against Russia since the start of the full-scale invasion, and also the biggest attack against Russian air bases since the war began. So things are indeed escalating. Ukraine is not backing down. They are pushing forward in the Kursk region, but they're also stepping up their attacks against military targets deep inside Russia.
Yes, perhaps the deepest drone strikes in Russia as well from Ukraine now. But at the same time, Megumi, does this situation also present an opportunity to bring the warring parties together and make an attempt for peace?
Well, the end goal is not quite clear with this Kursk operation, with what's going on now. We do not know how this operation is going to end. Ukraine has been pretty tight-lipped about their intentions, but yesterday did reveal some of its goals for essentially invading Russia. However, Ukraine's foreign ministry did make clear that this is not about holding Russian territory for the long term. This is not about territorial expansion. They're saying this is for first and foremost for self-defense. They're trying to prevent Moscow from reinforcing their troops in Ukraine's eastern front, where Russian forces have been making steady gains. But so far, we're hearing from the Ukrainian military that the impact of this Kursk incursion has not really been felt in Ukraine's eastern front. Russian forces are still advancing. They've stepped up their attacks in that area. And so we do not know if the impact of this incursion will be felt in the coming days. But, and so this has been a huge gamble for Ukraine. But if Ukrainian troops manage to hold territory inside Russia, this would cause Moscow to really overstretch their troops. This would really disrupt the supply lines for Russian forces, and this would certainly cause a lot of headache and embarrassment for President Putin. And Ukraine is believing that this could work as a strong bargaining chip for future peace negotiations. But today, Russia said that this Kursk incursion has actually caused Ukraine to put a long pause in any future negotiations.
All right, so there is, of course, another way of looking at the whole situation, but we'll have to see which way things go. Thanks a lot for joining us, Megumi Lim from Kyiv. Now, a day ahead of the Gaza ceasefire talks, Hamas has refused to be part of the dialogue. Even as Israel and Hamas appear to be increasing roadblocks, the US has said that both needed to move towards a peace agreement for Gaza without further delay.
Despite simmering tension, diplomatic efforts are underway to de-escalate the situation. On Wednesday, U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein was in Lebanon. He met with Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri. Later, the U.S. said that Israel and Hamas needed to move towards a peace agreement for Gaza without further delay.
We continue to believe that a diplomatic resolution is achievable because we continue to believe that no one truly wants between Lebanon and Israel, especially and the Israeli people. We know it's urgent because the hostilities between Hezbollah and Israel have only escalated since I was here last.
His statement came a day after U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield said that the overall U.S. goal in West Asia is to turn the temperature down, deter and defend against any future attacks.
The United States' overall goal remains to turn the temperature down in the region, deter and defend against any future attacks, and avoid regional conflict. That starts with finalizing a deal for an immediate ceasefire with hostage release in Gaza. We need to get this over the finish line. Again, we urge every member of this council to say clearly and unequivocally that it is time to finalize and implement this agreement.
There has been no let-up in fighting in Gaza. On Tuesday, the Hamas group released a video showing rockets they claim were being launched towards Tel Aviv. Bureau Report, DD India.
Japan's Prime Minister Kishida Fumio has said that he will step down in September, ending a 3-year term marred by political scandals and paving the way for a new premier to address the impact of rising prices. In a press conference on Wednesday, Kishida announced his decision not to seek re-election as the Liberal Democratic Party's leader.
The most obvious first step to show that the Liberal Democratic Party will change is for me to step aside. I will not run for the upcoming presidential election. I will continue to support the new leader who will be elected through the presidential election as a comrade. This has been on my mind since the incident first occurred. Now that the diplomatic schedule for the time being has settled, I would like to make a clean break by stepping aside and moving on to support the presidential election.
組織の長として責任を取ることにいささかの躊躇もありません。
Kishida's decision to quit has triggered a contest to replace him as party boss and by extension as the fourth biggest economy. Kishida's public support eroded amid revelations about the party's ties to the controversial Unification Church and more recently unrecorded political donations made at the LDP's fundraising parties. In another break from the past, Kishida also eschewed corporate profit-driven trickle-down economics in favor of policies aimed at boosting household incomes, including wage hikes and promoting share ownership. The US military conducted live fire drills in South Korea on Wednesday to test their deployment readiness on the Korean peninsula. The drills took place at Rodriguez Live Fire Complex in Pocheon, north of Seoul, near a heavily fortified border with North Korea. This temporary deployment comes in addition to the nearly 30,000 US troops which are stationed in South Korea as part of efforts to deter nuclear-armed North Korea. And still to come on DD India News Hour, Bangladesh scraps the 15th of August national holiday, marking its founder Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's day of assassination. Also, the first phase of multilateral air combat exercise Tarang Shakti wraps up in Tamil Nadu.
We have with us a very special guest, Olympic bronze medalist Swapnil Kusale. When we talk about you and your journey from TTE to an Olympic bronze medalist,
journey is quite long. Lots of challenges I've faced, but it's a good journey for me till now, so I'm happy.
You got a call from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
He called and say, Namaskar Bhau, kaise aap, like in Marathi language, so it was good to hear that.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and before we go any further, another look at our top stories. India's Prime Minister to lead the nation in celebrating its 78th Independence Day. On the 15th of August, the theme of this year's Independence Day is Viksit Bharat or Developed India at 2047. A Thai court dismisses sitting Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin in an ethics case. Lawmakers to meet on Friday to choose a new Prime Minister. And Russia declares emergency in Belgorod amid increased Ukrainian attacks. Ukraine says it plans to organize evacuation corridors for civilians in the Kursk region. India issues advisory for its nationals in 3 Russian regions. Now, a trust deficit continues among Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. They are running from pillar to post for a concrete assurance of safety and to know whereabouts of their missing kith and kin. Meanwhile, vandalism and protests continue in the country for over a week and have badly impacted its economic health as well. Top global rating agencies have raised serious doubts about Bangladesh's growth trajectory.
Amid ongoing political turmoil in Bangladesh, relatives of enforced disappearance victims on Tuesday met with the new chief advisor Muhammad Yunus, seeking justice for their loved ones. Chief advisor Yunus promised the families to take action to find out what happened to the disappeared people.
We want to know what has happened to my brother and the other 8 of them who were picked up with him. We want to learn about their whereabouts. We want an official answer within 24 hours. We want justice and arrest of the officers who did it.
Demonstrators, including the minority Hindu community members, also staged protests in Dhaka on Tuesday, demanding return of their relatives, who remained missing since the targeted violence erupted after August 5. Meanwhile, the interim government of Bangladesh on Tuesday cancelled a national holiday on August 15 that marks the assassination of former Prime Minister Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Earlier on Tuesday, former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina called on the people of Bangladesh to observe the National Day of Mourning on August 15, the death anniversary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. On the other hand, Bangladesh is experiencing a serious economic crisis amid unrest across the country. A recent report of S&P Global said that political turmoil in Bangladesh has added weakness in the banking sector and is also likely to hit financial reforms in the state. The weeks of unrest have also fanned inflation in the country, which reached 11.66% in July. Last week, credit rating agency Moody downgraded Bangladesh GDP growth forecast for this year to 5.1% from 5.4% previously. The prices of essential commodities and other items are expected to rise further due to the supply chain disruptions. On Wednesday, High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh paid a courtesy call to the advisor for foreign affairs of Bangladesh, Tawhid Hossain, in Dhaka. During the meeting, Hossain affirmed the interim government's commitment to ensure peaceful coexistence of different communities in Bangladesh, including the minorities. The advisor also thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his good wishes extended to the chief advisor on his assumption of new responsibilities. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
And we'll try and come back to this story with our expert guest for the time being. We're moving on. India's Comptroller and Auditor General has signed a memorandum of understanding with Uzbekistan's Chamber of Account. The MOU aims to enhance collaboration and exchange of expertise in auditing between the two countries. This would promote dissemination of best practices, creating expertise. The MOU would pave the way for greater accountability and improved governance as well. Now, India's total exports for July 2024 have been estimated to be $62.42 billion, registering a positive growth of 2.81% vis-a-vis July 2023. The country's total exports during April to July 2024 have been estimated at $261.47 billion, registering a positive growth of 6.65%. The cumulative value of merchandise exports during April to July 2024 has been $144.12 billion as compared to $138.39 billion during April-July 2023, registering a positive growth of 4.15%. Non-petroleum and non-gem and jewellery exports registered an increase of 5.69% from $25.47 billion in July 2023 to $26.92 billion in July 2024. And speaking with media persons, Commerce Secretary Sunil Bartwal has said that India's exports can get further boost despite global challenges. Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Foxconn chairperson Yang Liu on Wednesday and highlighted the wonderful opportunities that India offers in futuristic sectors. Prime Minister Modi also discussed Foxconn's investment plans in India. In a social media post, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote, "Wonderful to meet Mr. Yang Liu, the chairman of a Honhai Technology Group, that's Foxconn. I highlighted the wonderful opportunities India offers in futuristic sectors. We also had excellent discussions on their investment plans in India in states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh." The Indian Air Force has concluded the Phase 1 of Exercise Tarang Shakti 2024 at Air Force Station Sulur in Tamil Nadu with an ultimate show of multinational synergy. The Indian Air Force Chief, Air Chief V.R. Chaudhary, flew in a fighter aircraft formation with Chief of French Air Force, German Air Force and Spanish Air Force. This marked an event of historical significance, bringing together the four air chiefs on a single platform aimed at increasing collaboration with mutual learning. India's Border Security Force arrested two Bangladeshi nationals in a joint operation of the BSF and Tripura Police at Sabroom in Tripura when they were attempting to enter Indian territory. In another operation on the intervening night of the 13th and the 14th of this month, the BSF troops apprehended one more Bangladeshi national when he tried to enter into Indian territory. The BSF has intensified surveillance and dominance along the hinterland due to the ongoing disturbances in Bangladesh. That brings up one of our top stories for tonight, which is the situation in Bangladesh, where apart from the fact that the minority population, particularly Hindus, have a trust deficit with the government now and the larger population. Apart from that, there is of course the scrapping of a national holiday, which is marked every 15th of August. Otherwise, till now it was marked in Bangladesh, which is the day of assassination of its founder, Bangabandhu. But this time around, that holiday has been scrapped, and there are economic indicators that are worrying as well. To talk about all this, we have Riva Ganguly Das joining us, who's been an Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh as well. Good evening to you. Ms. Das, what do you make of the situation in Bangladesh? On one hand, there is this entire crisis that is playing out. The situation is still not under control, and yet such decisions of scrapping the day that marks the assassination of the nation's founder. Why do you think this sort of a development has taken place?
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Evening.
I think Bangladesh is going through a huge political churn right now. Things are not really settled. There is an interim government, caretaker government, however, in whichever way you want to describe it. And they're dealing with a very, very difficult situation. You know, slowly the police is coming back to work, and by and large, you know, the government is dealing with issues like political, you know, security and law and order. So, you know, it's true that the minorities were severely attacked after Sheikh Hasina stepped down, and there was general outrage against it. But we must also accept that this government has, you know, tried to speak to the community. In fact, Dr. Yunus visited Dhakeshwari temple, the national temple as it is called of the Hindu community. He met the leaders of the community in the temple itself. The cases against the minorities have also come down. So we would hope that situation will come to normal sooner than later. As regards the scrapping of the holiday, you know, that's really something for Bangladesh government to decide, and they have decided to scrap the holiday. But I think given Mujib's stature and the role he played in Bangladesh's birth and in the 1971 war, the government cannot really prevent anybody from mourning this absolutely momentous event if they want to. Earlier, the whole month of August was declared as the month of mourning, and a lot of activities used to take place remembering the sacrifices made by the Mukti Jodhas and particularly the assassination of Sheikh Mujib. So I'm sure, you know, those who wish to mourn and those who participated in the liberation war and those who have association with the liberation war, I'm sure nothing prevents them from mourning this, you know, the horrific assassination of Sheikh Mujib right after, a few years after the independence.
Yes, but in terms of how things are going, do you feel that this scrapping of the nation, he's regarded as that not just within Bangladesh, at least he was till this entire change took place, but even worldwide, it's a case of misplaced anger?
Well, I think, you know, we have seen politics of retribution in Bangladesh before also. It's not as if, you know, it's something new. Unfortunately, democracy has not really taken roots in the country, and change of government always brings with it, you know, retribution against the opponents. We have seen a long period after Mujib's assassination during the army rule, when, you know, history itself was taught differently. So it's a young nation which has to come to terms with its history. And I'm sure the younger generation, Bangladesh is a young nation, they will themselves, this is an issue which Bangladesh has to handle itself. It is an issue of identity. It is an issue of understanding their history, which will determine their future course. So I think we will have to let them you know, deal with it, especially the younger generation, to deal with these historical issues in the best way they think fit.
All right. Riva Gangli Das, thank you so much for joining us and talking about it this evening.
Thank you.
Now we got some breaking news coming in. The Court of Arbitration for Sports on Wednesday has dismissed Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat's application for silver medal in the Olympics wrestling event. IOA President Dr. P.T. Usha has expressed his shock and disappointment at the decision of the sole arbitrator at CAS to dismiss Phogat's application against the United World Wrestling and International Olympic Committee. Phogat was disqualified from the women's 50 kg wrestling category on the second day of the competition, that is just ahead of the final in her weight category, due to being overweight by just 100 grams. We have my colleague covering sports. He was there in Paris as well, joining us from the phone line, Narayan Singh. Narayan, what can we say about this? Very, very disappointing. It seems that the arguments that were being made have not been bought by the CAS.
Definitely, we can say that it's very unfortunate that Vinesh Phogat has been denied with a medal at the Olympic Games. Definitely, we are previously saying that the rules of the UWW, United World Wrestling, directly says that on both days, on day 1 and day 2, the wrestler who is competing in his weight category should come within the limit of his weight category. On day 1, Vinesh's weight was 50, below 50, that is 49.9, and in the next day, she was found 2 kg above, and after a lot of, we can say that, practice and whatever she did, she lost somewhat, and still she was 100 gram above, and because of that, she had been denied with the silver medal. And definitely, she argued that the lawyers, Harish Salve and other pro bono who were just arguing of her case in the Court of Arbitration for Sport, said that it's on the human angle, on the this is the human, we can say the fundamental right of Vinesh to have some salts, to have some fluid after a bout, because on a single day, on day 1, the wrestler has to fight 3 bouts, and after that, definitely she needs something to survive and to fight her next bout. If you take a look at the whole scenario, it depends on a very, we can say the few loopholes are also there in the rules and whatever regulations they have, the United World Wrestling. Definitely, we can say that she denied, but already in the past also we saw that such incident happened when the Japanese wrestler Ryo Higuchi, who was not able to be there, qualify for the Tokyo Olympics, in the Olympic qualification, he was disqualified because his weight was 50 grams above. And this time around, he won a gold medal in the 57 kg category. So the chances were slim, but the kind of support the government gave, they hired the best lawyer and also the sports experts. Viduspat Singhania was there. 4 pro bono lawyers from the French court were there to support. They tried a lot. They tried everything. But I think there is a time to change the rules, because we know that a female body is different. Sometimes you have to be different set of rules for the male and female wrestlers, because of some natural causes she would have gained the weight, and sometimes it is very difficult to bring that weight within a small span of time to the optimum level. So all in all, we can say disappointment is there in the Indian wrestling fraternity and the Indian sports fraternity. So overall, we have to also take a learning from this incident, that overall, as we can say that to be more aware regarding such situations, that such situations should not emerge in future.
Narayan, is this the end of the road then? Because Vinesh, I think, had said that she will not come back to India till this verdict is out. Now there's no other recourse that is left?
Gautam, she will, as per the reports coming, she will be there in India on the 17th of August at 10 a.m. in the morning. As per the latest report we are seeing, we got from the sources. But all in all, we can say that all the doors are shut. But one more option is that they can go to the Swiss court, which has a last option, which will be the last option for the Vinesh and the Indian there to present their cause. Because take a look, what happens, we have to understand the thing. Vinesh fights in the 53 kg category earlier she used to fight. But that weight category was given to Altim Pangal. And because of that, there were 2 options for her, whether she goes up to 57 or come to 50. And at that time, her body weight was around 58, 59. And to reduce her body weight from 58, 59 to 50, we can say that it's a big challenge for her. She did, because it's a general rule in the wrestling or boxing that always a boxer or a fighter wants to play in a lower weight category, considering the fact that it may give him or her a better opponent, not a stronger opponent. and she we can shed her weight from 58 to 50. So it was a big task. But now her natural body weight was around 58, 59, 60. So she was fighting 50 kg category. In that scenario, also it's very tough for Vinesh to be there at the 50 kg category because we know that after the 3 bouts, definitely she needs something to survive. So in that scenario, we can say that the United World Wrestling will take a look that a fighter, a boxer, a wrestler is fighting 3 bouts in a single day, and he or she needs something to be there. It is frequently this happens. Even same happened with the Aman Sherawat, who gained around 3-4 kg. But his coaches somehow managed that. In some cases, it is not possible because of some natural causes are there. So that's why the United World Wrestling should look into this. Because there are some loopholes, and if you take a look the sports of wrestling, here the bronze medal match is not between the losing semi-finalists. It is between it is through a series where an opponent is losing to the person who is going to the finals. A chain of series is going on. So it is very difficult for, we can say, the repechage wrestlers also to maintain that optimum level of weight. So it's time for the United World Wrestling to look into the rules, and there should be some separate rules for women and some separate also men wrestlers too. And definitely, a Swiss course is the last option for the women. They can again reappeal and take a look into it.
All right. Well, let's hope that all options are explored. Whether there's a chance to get any reprieve in this appellate forum or not, perhaps that will first need to be assessed by the top lawyers who are part of this case as well. For now, it's extremely disappointing news that has come in from CAS in Paris. Thanks, Narayan. Now, President Droupadi Murmu welcomed India's Olympic medalists and participants from the Paris 2024 Olympics at her official residence in New Delhi. At Rashtrapati Bhavan, during the interaction, the athletes thanked the government for its steadfast support, particularly through the Target Olympic Podium scheme. Paris 2024 will be remembered for the joy of winning 6 medals that brought pride to the nation. It will also be marked by the heartbreak of 6 fourth-place finishes where Indian athletes narrowly missed the podium.
India's Olympic medalists and participants from the Paris 2024 Olympics were honoured today by President Droupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. The President warmly congratulated the athletes, praising their outstanding performances on the global stage. She emphasized that their achievements have brought immense pride to the nation.
आप सभी ना केवल शानदार के खिलाड़ी हैं, बल्कि भारत के अनऑफिशियल ब्रांड एम्बेसडर्स भी हैं। मुझे विश्वास है कि आपकी सफलता से देश में स्पोर्ट्स कल्चर को और भी बढ़ावा मिलेगा। मुझे विश्वास है कि आने वाले दिनों में आपकी प्रेरणा और मार्गदर्शन से देश में ओलंपिक्स तथा अन्य इंटरनेशनल टूर्नामेंट्स में विभिन्न खेलों में अधिक से अधिक खिलाड़ी बेहतरीन प्रदर्शन करेंगे और देश का नाम रोशन करेंगे।
Indian athletes expressed their deep gratitude for the support from the government. They highlighted the impact of the Target Olympic Podium scheme, crediting it for their preparation and success.
बहुत लोगों ने हेल्प किया है, गवर्नमेंट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट बहुत हेल्प कर रहा है हम लोग को, IOA साथ दे रहे हैं, साई टॉप्स, स्पेशल थैंक्स टू साई बैंगलोर जहाँ पे हम लोग बोल सकते हैं कि हमारा घर ही है और ये लोग के बिना ये रास्ता और ये मेडल हो ही नहीं सकता था। मैडम,
मुझे काफ़ी अच्छा लगता है कि इंडिया बहुत प्रोग्रेस कर रहा है और उसका तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगी मैं PT उषा मैम का पहले और हमारा स्पोर्ट्स अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया और जो हमारे स्पॉन्सर्स हैं उन सब का।
The meeting concluded on a note of optimism, with the athletes and President Murmu both looking forward to even greater achievements in the future. This interaction not only celebrated past victories, but also reinforced the commitment to nurturing India's sporting talent for the challenges ahead. Narayan Singh's report for DD India.
And Hockey India decided to retire the jersey number of goalkeeping stalwart P.R. Srijesh at the senior level after he bid adieu to the game following his starring role in the country's second consecutive Olympic bronze at the just concluded Paris Games. Hockey India Secretary General Bholanath Singh said that going forward, no senior team player will be given the number 16 jersey, although it will remain in circulation at the junior level. Singh announced that the 36-year-old who competed for nearly 2 decades, will take up the role of the junior national coach. The players who were present at the ceremony wore identical red jerseys with Srijes's name on the back as a mark of respect to the veteran.
मुझे हमेशा लगता था कि गर्व से सिर ऊपर करके जाना है। मैंने कमांडर सर को बीच में बोला, सर जिस दिन आपको लगता है कि मैं खेल नहीं रहा हूँ अच्छा से, अब मुझे बता देना एक बार, ताकि मैं नेक्स्ट टूर्नामेंट में बोलूँगा मैं जा रहा हूँ वापस, क्योंकि ये जर्नी छोटा नहीं है। 2004 में मेरे डेब्यू से लेके अभी 2024 मतलब एक 20 साल का जर्नी है। तो मुझे ऐसा नहीं जाना था कि एक मेल मिला या अगले ईमेल में मैं अटैच नहीं हूँ। तो मेरे हिसाब से ओलंपिक्स एक वर्ल्ड का फेस्टिवल है, वहाँ से गुड बाय बोलना मेरे हिसाब से एक अच्छा एक तरीका था। और मैंने फैमिली से बात किया, मेरा जितना भी कोचेस है सबसे बात किया, सबने आधे लोगों ने बोले मत करो यार, जब तक हॉकी इंडिया नहीं लात मारते तब तक रहो। तो मैंने बोला नहीं सर, एक इज्जत की भी बात होता है, एंड आपको इससे ज़्यादा क्या चाहिए।
The former South African fast bowler Moni Morkel has been appointed as the new bowling coach of India's cricket team. The 39-year-old is the choice of India's chief coach, Gautam Gambhir. Gambhir has worked with him in an Indian Premier League franchise, that's Lucknow Super Giants. Morkel has played 86 tests, 117 ODIs and 44 T20Is for South Africa, with a total of 544 international wickets. Now, on the eve of India's Independence Day, iconic monuments across the nation are shining brightly in celebration. The atmosphere is electric as people have come alive with excitement. Kira Chavda reports for DD India.
As the sun has set on the eve of India's Independence Day, the nation's most iconic landmarks have come alive in a dazzling display of light and colour. From the majestic Red Fort in Delhi to the Parliament of the nation, each monument is bathed in the tricolour, symbolizing the spirit of unity and pride that binds this diverse nation together. The streets are bustling with excitement. People of all ages are out, waving flags and capturing memories under the brilliantly lit skies. The air is thick with anticipation as everyone eagerly awaits the grand celebrations that will unfold tomorrow.
It's all of 3 colors right here, everything. Noida, Delhi, everywhere. It's so colorful and so nice. Very beautiful and very spiritual. When you come here, when you see these colors, it's like, it combines everything back and says it that it's so important for us to remember everybody who has done all of those things. I am getting my goosebumps right now.
The energy is electric across the country, marking a true testament to India's enduring spirit and love for its freedom. For many, this day revives those cherished moments of childhood, connecting generations through a shared sense of pride and tradition.
When I was in school, so we used to dress like a soldiers.
When I was in school, we used to dress like soldiers, and some even used to dress like an Air Force personnel. It was a good childhood memory. Now when we watch a movie or when we see someone in a uniform, we feel the pride ignited within us.
Uniform person को देखते तो एक pride movement आता है.
As India lights up in celebration, we are reminded of the pride and unity that defines us as a nation. He's wishing you all a very happy Independence Day. With camera person Shubham Sharma, Kira Chawla in New Delhi, reporting for DD India.
Yes, celebrate but never forget as well as to what really won us independence from colonial rule, and then we're trying to still get rid of too many ills that still plague the country. Now that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen right now and download the app. We'll be back with more news and updates as they break here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.